Hey guys, in this short video I'm gonna show you how to tile a floor correctly, layer by layer, okay? All the things you have to take into consideration before you start, and then until the end, execution, grouting and even siliconing. Let me quickly show you the surface. So we've got this, this is a large extension that we just built. It's about 50 square meters. This area here, including that part there. So we're going to start in this open space here. Once we come to this point with the decoupling mat, then we're gonna move all the tools to this side, and then we're gonna continue. So the tools that I'm going to use are very simple. The 6mm notched trowel, a roller, decoupling mat, and a primer. So first we have to obviously prime. This is porous, but it's a very stable floor. We've got concrete slab, insulation, underfloor heating, and about 80-90 mil of screed. So this floor is very stable. If your floor is unstable, I would recommend using different decoupling mat, but this one, for what we need, is perfect. Okay, so that's the product we're using. We're sourcing this from Tile House. Tile House is a very nice shop, a bunch of nice guys. I always buy all my tiling gear from them. They are mainly based in East London. They got multiple branches. They also have a website, so they deliver nationwide, no problem. Check them out, they're really good. The link is in the description. Yeah, so because the surface is so good, and we know it's leveled, because the screed is done plus minus 3-4 mil, it's really nice screed. So we don't have to worry about self-leveling the surface. Normally, if this was a very bumpy surface, whatever, we would self-level it first to make it as flat as possible. Then we would apply the decoupling mat. Now, since we don't have to do that, we're just gonna crack on straight away with priming the surface and then applying the decoupling mat. Alright, the priming is done, and then the next step is applying the decoupling mat. I forgot to mention, why do we use decoupling mat? Decoupling mat is a very important aspect of tiling because it works almost like a suspension between the surface and the tile. It also waterproofs the surface, stops from anything coming, any damp penetrating from the bottom, and also the other way around as well. So depending on where you're working, is it outside or how stable or unstable is your surface, you would use different decoupling mats. But generally, if you use decoupling mat, you can be sure that your tiles will not pop off, and unlikely that they will ever crack. So that is the main purpose. It basically works like a suspension. It allows certain movement, and the tiles will not crack, and they will just stay on there forever. Well, maybe not forever, but a long time, much longer than without it. So it's a must, it's a must. But it has to be applied correctly. So now I'm going to show you how to apply it correctly. Follow me. So we've pre-cut two lengths. It's always good practice to do that. Pre-cut your lengths first, then spread the adhesive, then stick them on, and then roll it with the roller. And I will explain the roller in a bit, and I'll show you, and I'll tell you where I got it from. So, let me explain about the roller. Why is the roller important? And I'll tell you where I got it from. That roller is from Hard Styling Services, Refiner, I think it's called, or something like that. I bought it online, it's bloody expensive. It's way too expensive for what it is, but they charge that much because they can. It's the only roller that does this job on the market so far that I found. Anyway, that roller with a bit of weight on it, like we used one bag of adhesive. For different decoupling mat, I would use 2 bags. For this one bag is enough. Basically, what it does is squeezes out all the air from underneath it and makes everything very flat and evenly spread. It makes it stick to the surface very well and makes the adhesive penetrate into the matting, because the matting is soft from the bottom, so that adhesive needs to bond nicely, goes in through. There's no point sticking that on and then without good adhesion. There's no point. The whole concept is that this needs to be filled with adhesive from the bottom, then filled with adhesive from the top with the tile, and all of that put together works like a suspension that moves around and you can bend slightly and all of that, yeah? Now, to prove it to you, the difference between using the roller and not using the roller, I'm gonna show you a little experiment, yeah? Arjun, let's get a little off cut here. You got a knife? Have you got a knife? Arjun's always got a knife in his pocket. Let's get a little piece, yeah? And we'll come here, for instance. So, traditionally you would just spread the adhesive. We'll spread the adhesive, whack that on, and that's what you would do. Okay? That's it, job done. Now look at the difference. Come on, John, closer, please. Look, we stacked this on about 10 minutes ago, yeah? Look at what's happening here. Look how well this is all stuck on, yeah? It's beautiful, yeah? Absolutely beautiful. Now this, you see the difference? There's no way, no matter how much you're going to be tapping and knocking with the trowel from the top, you're never gonna get that. It's impossible, because the subsurface is also not perfectly straight. There are slight ditches and stuff. So you're doing with this, you're only gonna catch the high spots, which is like in here, you can see this is the high spot, this is the high spot, and this is the low spot. So the low spot, it's not gonna get your flat trowel. With the roller, as it's rolling, very narrow roller, it just pushes it all out and gets it all bonded together. And that is the difference. So the roller, it's a must. Honestly, guys, it's a must. Without the roller, the job is not 100%. Let's go to the next step.
I am just going to explain quickly how to use the roller. Simply place 1 bag of adhesive on the top platform and start driving the roller on your matting in all directions until you see that the mat is getting darker. That means that the adhesive soaked through the cloth layer underneath it and it's fully bonded with the plastic part of the mat.
So the decoupling mat is now laid down nicely. Let me quickly show you. So we've got that done here in the extension for now. Now I'm going to start the tiling process, and the boys are gonna continue with the matting, and that's gonna go into the house as well. This is all new built, as you see in here. And then there's a bathroom there. The tiles will go into the bathroom, into that area there as well, and then they will go in there. Now, one of the most important aspects of tiling and generally in construction is all about planning. If you plan something well, then everything goes well. If you don't plan well, nothing goes well, okay? So you need to plan your tiling. Now you can do that in the software. Now, if you've got access to a software, like there's so many, I'm not gonna name them, but free ones, SketchUp, for instance, you will draw the room, your tile format, let's say 600 to 600 in this case here, and then you will place them on your floor, and then you can move it around to see what's the best fit. Yeah, I didn't do that. I don't have time for stuff like that. So let me show you what I did. So see this black line that goes there. I've decided that I want the center of the tile or the joint be in the corridor. In here, I want the center of the narrow corridor to have the center of the tile or joint of the tile. So my tiles will join in the center of this corridor. So I drew that line. I used laser. If you don't have a laser, you can use a chalk line, whatever. And then you have to measure it and then see how the tiles are going to come out by the walls and by the doors and all of those little places, because you don't want to end up with tiny little pieces of strips of tiles anywhere. Sometimes it's very hard to tick all the boxes, but generally if you work hard on it, you'll find a good balance, how to balance it all out. So I drew lines basically, as you see, let's say in here. On that line, this is where my kitchen is ending here, right? I don't want then end up with a little piece here by the plinth. Yeah, I want a nice big, at least somewhere around half a tile. Okay, so I've decided to start from half a tile from here, and then full tile will come to here, and that's going to be the distance up to the plinth, which is really nice, half a tile, right? Then on that line, all the way, see another line here, another line there, yeah? I drew the lines all the way to the end, and at the end, I've got more than half a tile as well, okay? Now, from the line, going left, going right, again, I did exactly the same thing. So then this is my center, and then the first tile will end here, on this line. Then the next one there, and so on and so on. And then right at the end there, by that wall, for instance, I've got almost a half a tile, yeah? And then on this side, the kitchen will curve this way, yeah? This is my kitchen line, and this is where the tile will end, which is still, it's quite nice, it's acceptable. Like, I'm happy that. When if it's more than if it's 1/3 of the tile, it's acceptable. That was the best balance, you know. And then the way I planned it, you know, you have to measure by this wall, by that wall, by that wall, by this wall, right at the end there, in the corridor. You have to draw those lines, draw those lines, and check it properly so you don't have tiny little pieces. And this line is my guideline, and this is where I start, okay? The tiles will go flush with this bifold door here. So my tiles will be flush with this, okay? Same level. And then later when we build the decking will be also in this level. So the house will be same level as the garden. That is the plan. Well, the decking will go only 3 meters away from the house, but yeah, but that is the plan, okay? So now I know everything, okay? I know where to start, how to start, what's the size of the first tile, okay? And that is because I planned it well. So spend a lot of time on planning. Today it took me about 4 hours of drawing these lines, throwing some lasers around, running around with a measuring tape, different scenarios. I had lots of marks in here, and then in the end I end up with this scenario that I just showed you. In my opinion, that's the best one, and I'm going with that. So now let's start tiling. So I started, always start with a dry fit of the first few tiles. Let me quickly show you. So I've cut the tiles, and as I already mentioned, this is my line, as you see. And then so I'm aligning with that line. And then and I've cut the first tiles, first 3 tiles. And this is basically my starting point, yeah? Now, the reason why I'm starting here is because I want that to be at a certain level with the threshold of the bifold door. So that's why this is going to be my first tile to lay, and then those 2. And once I level this all up nicely, then I just kick off that way and then the other way, creating the first line. And then I'm going to scatter them because everything's going to be very wobbly. I'll explain it. Everything will make sense when I'll explain in a minute. Yeah, I don't worry too much about getting too close to the wall and all of that, because there'll be a skirt in here that should have some gap anyway for any movement and stuff. So yeah, so this is it. I've just pre-cut that tile, and one thing I cannot stress enough is wearing those when you're cutting your tiles with a grinder or even with a dry cutter. It's a must, honestly. The amount of time I had stuff. This is glass porcelain, yeah? You don't want any of that hitting your eye, okay? Let me just quickly show you my tools. So I've got a mixer. So I've got a mixer to mix the adhesive, yeah? I've got a vacuum, just in case, yeah? I've got my grinder with a ruby blade, and I've got another cordless variable speed grinder. See, it's only set on 2. That's for polishing the edges if I want to. I also have got the vibrator. That just you put on a tile, vibrates it, pushes it down. If you can't push it with your hand, and the vibrator does the job. And I've got a dry cutter, just a small one for this job. Small tiles, so I've got a small one. I've got a big machine as well, monolith machine, but this is a ruby machine. It's good enough for those tiles. Yeah, so that's it. And obviously I'm gonna mix up my glue. I'm gonna start laying it down. And the biggest secret in all of this is, just because you set your first tile, let's say level this way, level that way, doesn't mean that you don't have to be leveling this one. You just get them flush and you think everything is good. No, every single tile you check with your level, this way and that way. You put your next tile, this way, that way. And even when you're here, check it this way, that way, all the time. You have to keep on checking, because if you drop a 1 millimeter somewhere, then by the end of such a long line, you might be 5 mil down, so, which is a disaster. Then you're gonna have to rip it all out and start again. So patience and attention to detail is the most important part in this job. So level every single tile, and if it's not enough adhesive underneath it or whatever, you can't level it, pull it off. I know it's gonna be a bit messy, just sponge off the edges and stuff, and start again. Add more adhesive and start again, okay? Do not think, I'll be all right. It won't be. With tiling, with tiling, just like with carpentry, I'm a carpenter, by the way, like with carpentry, anything else, when you cut, you have to cut with precision, and you have to install with precision, and there's no such thing as it'll be okay, because you won't be, okay? Attention to detail, step by step, one by one, and everything will nicely fall into place. Just follow the levels.
Always start with priming the mat, priming the matting and the tile.
So I've got the first 4 tiles installed, nicely leveled. Let me show you. So this way level, that way level. I check every single tile this way and that way. So it's all leveled, and you have to really be OCD with the level. Keep on looking at the level all the time, so you always got perfect level, yeah? Here and there, all the time. Every single tile, level, yeah? That is the key. Now, tomorrow is gonna be a lot easier because this will set, this will go off, and obviously I'll be able to push more. I will have surface to walk on as well, so it'll be a lot easier. At the moment, you know, whatever you do, everything is moving. You have to keep on checking that this line hasn't moved and everything is still aligned, still as it should be. Because 2 millimeters or 1 millimeter movement here, this way, will give me like 2 centimeters over there at the end of the corridor. So it's important that that is all nice and square. That's why I drew those lines, so I can keep a track of it. Right, the next day, the first line is nice and dry. Let me quickly show you. So it's all nice and dry, solid. We can walk on it. Now it's really nice because now we have solid base to push onto. Yeah, I forgot to mention yesterday when I was recording the video, we're using leveling clips for leveling the tiles. You see, they go between the 2 tiles. And then the clip will pull them together nicely, so all the joints come out very nice and flush. Now, before all of this was invented, we were getting it all nice and flush without it. It's just a bit more attention to detail and hard work. This makes the work goes a lot faster, and yeah, it's a good thing. I've tried so many different systems, the one that you turn and these and that, and in the end I'm keep on going back to these ones. That's my favorite. I prefer these ones. I'll leave the link in the description for you to see where I get it from and what brand it is. It's my favorite. It comes with a tool, like a crimping tool. You kind of squeeze it together. I don't use the tool. I just use the fingers. I just push it in. That's it. Right, so now we're gonna crack on with the rest of it. Also, you need to, forgot to mention one very important thing. On some tiles, you get arrows, like this one. Let me show you. Very hard to see on this one. Yeah, there we go, here. I don't know if you can see that in the video. It says made in India, and there's an arrow showing this way, yeah? So you have to lay the tiles in the same direction, all of them. You have to check your tiles. Once you get your tiles, check if they have arrows. It's important, then the pattern is falling into place very nicely. That's it. Let's get it done. And one thing I forgot to mention, after every single line, check the straightness of the line. Okay, you can do that with laser, or you can do that with a long spirit level. Let me quickly show you. Arjun, grab that level and check it. Check it. Cool. So put it against it. Make sure there's all the tiles are in line all the time. Okay, you know, you'll be very lucky if every single time is exactly the same size in the box. Even the most expensive and good quality tiles, they very often, go to the other end, very often, you know, it's a 0.5 millimeter, 1/4 millimeter, but over a few lines, you're starting having issues and problems, yeah? So just check every single line. When you finish the line, come back, get a spirit level, check it. If there's something slightly more in or out, bring it back to the line with a spirit level, with a straight edge, yeah? And that way, you know that everything is going as it should. Easy peasy, yeah? And finally, I got to a place where I've got a corner cut, and I'm gonna show you how to perform that correctly, okay? Let me show you the spot. Oh yeah, now I have to make that cut. Now I've already drawn on the tile what needs to be cut out. Okay, so that part that's marked off, that part is going, yeah? This part that's clean is gonna slide in there, okay? So, yes, you can just make 2 cuts, remove that, and hope for the best. But typically, later, over time, this will crack. And the reason for that is because this is a cooked material. It's cooked in a very high temperature. It's highly dense and it's under pressure, okay? That's why when you just score it on the dry machine and you just give a little tap and the tile just breaks, yeah? Because it's under pressure, everything there's under pressure. So when you release that material from this big piece, and it's a L-shaped scenario like here, usually over time, if not straight away, then over time it will crack here, okay? And there's a bit of movement on the floor and all of that, it will crack. So it's a very good practice to drill a hole in here, okay, as I marked. You drill a 6 or 8 millimeter, I usually do 8 millimeter. I drill a hole, then you make your cuts, okay? Now, how to make the cuts, it's up to you really, preference. You can use a grinder, you can cut one side with a grinder, the other side on a dry machine, snap it off. You can use a water machine, whatever. Because I've got access to the outside and it's lovely weather, I'll go outside and use my grinder because the dust won't bother me outside. If you have to cut inside and then you use grinder, then you're gonna create a lot of mess, okay? Right, Dominic, did you get the drill bit?
Yeah.
Show me. Yeah, that's what they look like. Look, yeah. This one can be mounted straight on the grinder. This one on the drill. Let's use the one that goes on the drill on this one. Okay, cool. Dominic, take the camera, please.
Yep.
Right. You know how to operate it? Yeah. Cool. Let's take this outside and I'll show you. So first things first, drill a hole. Yes, cool evaporator. Wear your glasses when you're drilling, because those little porcelain chips, when they hit your eye, they're not nice. I've already got a problem with my ears, they're super sensitive from all the noise that I'm, so I'll wear that as well. Start at an angle, come closer to me. Now this one has wax inside, so you don't have to cool it down, it cools itself down, so the wax is cool. Now I personally don't like this technique. I just don't like all this wet water splashes and all of that, and you would have to use a guard for this. That's the best way, the guard. So you wet your sponge and you just simply hold it against the blade. Okay, now the reason why I don't like it, because I'm left-handed and this grinder is for right-handed person. Yeah, so when you make your cut, yeah, you just hold your sponge against the blade like that, yeah, and then you make your cut. That way there's no dust. Okay, now since I'm left-handed, I'd have to start from this side. Okay, so there you go. Hold on. A battery died. Okay. This one's got no juice. Dobra, to powycinam, nie? Power back on. Let's go. Now this can be still used because you've got two edges that are factory, so yeah, so you can use that somewhere in the corner as an offcut. Now you've got that corner here, just clean that up with the grinder. Now you can polish this up, smooth it with another tool, but no point, it's gonna be covered with the skirting. But if you want to, you can use all various different tools. This is a variable speed grinder, so it goes very slowly. Yeah, and you can just move that up a little bit. That way, pokaż nam, yeah? That way you won't cut your fingers when you lay in the towel. Job done. Now you just have to stick it on. Right guys, so you probably have noticed in the on the time lapses so far that I've not been using notch trowel for quite some time. I started off with a notch trowel and I'm not using it anymore. Okay, we have to do that sometimes, and this is good because it's a great example for you how to show you how to lay tiles, because sometimes not everything goes according to the plan, and the cock up in here was the actual screeding, not the screeding itself. Come on, it's KP screeding, right? KP screeding. Honestly, these guys are at another level. The way they screed is just plus minus 1 or 2 millimeters. They're amazing, yeah? It's how I told them to do it. The height that I marked for them for the screed, I forgot to allow for self-leveling compound. I usually leave 6 to 8 mil space for self-leveling compound over the screed. Then I calculate for the glue, the decoupling mat, glue and tile. I forgot to calculate for the self-leveling, right? So we're laying straight on the screed, which is fine in terms of quality of the work. Nothing's gonna happen. It's not gonna come off or anything like that. But screed isn't 100% straight. Okay. So now I had to build up slightly more on adhesive, and as I'm coming down here, it's getting a little bit more and more. Now I'm on about, say, about 8 mil of adhesive, right? Maybe 8 to 10 mil. The notch trowel is not working anymore. So I'm going to show you how you do it to maintain at least like 85 to 90% of coverage of the adhesive under the tile, because that's very important. Tile needs to be covered minimum 85% underneath it, yeah? So a little free patches of without adhesive, that's just a normal thing, yeah? But you have to have at least 85% of the adhesive, yeah? So the best way to do this is basically, the procedure is the same as always, yeah? We're priming the mat first. Okay. So your matting is primed. Now we're going to prime the tile. Look for the arrows. Arrow that way, same as all the other tiles. That's fine, because we decided that the pattern will go this way. So there's a little arrow here showing that way. That's fine. So we're priming the tile. Tile needs to be fully primed, every single bit of it. Okay, I'm just gonna put that aside now. Cool. Always have a handy cloth next to you. I use these domestic gloves that my wife uses for doing the washing in the kitchen. They're really good for for this work. This adhesive ruins your skin badly. Right, and then you just have to whack a lot of adhesive onto this. And you have to throw quite a lot of it. Because what we're going to do, we're going to create lots of little patches, yeah? And they need to be projecting out, because when we press the tile down, all the patches will then flatten, yeah? And all that tile will be nicely covered. Now, by looking at the thickness here and there, you can roughly judge how much adhesive you need, yeah? okay? Now I always mark the tile where it's going to go, roughly. That gives you a better picture. Now fill up with the ends and all the edges are. There's got to be plenty of adhesive there. Yeah. Right. Stick your leveling clips in. And that's it. The tiles go in, the tile go in. And look how much higher it is than my the other tile, yeah? And that is now all that adhesive. Now we'll you just keep wiggling and wiggling, wiggling it. Now all of this is flattening. The adhesive is nice and runny. It's not thicker adhesive, so look, all you have to do is I've got a vibrating tool, by the way, right? I could just go and hold up for 10 seconds and the job is done. Now not everyone has a vibrator like that, yeah? So I'm just showing you how to do it without it, yeah? If it's too hard to push that in, then all you might to do, you become the vibrator, yeah? So, little wiggle, little stand on it, not enough, a little bit more. Yeah, that's good. You want me to come from this side, show how the adhesive is, just see how nice the all comes out. That means, and I'm still a little bit too high. Yeah, so, okay, now I'm about right. Yeah, a little tap. Yeah, I'm still a little bit too high here, so I'll go this way. Now, experience has taught me how much of the adhesive put in. So, but you know, if you put too much, you have to take it off, and that's a messy job. To lift that up now, you need to use like a couple of trowels and slowly, because that's really sucked in so you have to slowly release it. Mighty mess, yeah? So try to put the right amount of adhesive, yeah? But now look, this is all almost leveled. Like a little bit more here. Yeah, that's good enough. It's about maybe like 1/4 millimeter. The clips will rectify that, yeah? So look, the adhesive came out nicely. That means we have very good coverage underneath it. Now, we just put the clips, I mean the wedges, sorry. The wedges, just push them in like that. This way, that way, that way, and that way. Now, there's another important thing you have to do. I'll show you. Clean up your adhesive, yeah? Clean up your adhesive. Now, this corner of the tile is conditioned by the level of this tile, which I've leveled it. This side of the tile is conditioned by the level of this tile, because the clips getting them together. But this corner now is a freelancer, yeah? You have to level it. To get your little level right now, well, it's perfect, okay? So, but sometimes it isn't, then you have to just give it a little push. Let me show it again. Yeah? So now I don't have to do anything, but sometimes you just have to give it a little push. You need to level that corner nicely. Once that corner is leveled, then this whole tile is ready to join with your next. That's it. So I hope you're finding all of this useful. If you haven't yet, then smash that subscribe button. It means a lot to me. Thank you, and let's continue. Let's get this tiled. Well, that's it then. I hope I explained all the details of tiling enough for you to have a good idea. Now we started the grouting process. All of this there has been already grouted. Kitchen's been delivered as well, so we're preparing for installation. But so in the meantime, I'll show you quickly. That's already been grouted nicely. Now Dominic here is grouting. Grouting is very simple. You just have to make sure that you really squeeze. Can I see your trowel? So this is like a rubber little trowel, call it trowel or whatever. It helps to push the grout right in. You have to make sure that the grout goes down all the way down to the floor. Yeah, so keep on pushing until it's coming out, and then you move on to your next part. And then you wipe. For wiping, we're using this little boy. It's a really good thing. You wet the sponge and get all the excess water off here. Like that. And when it's kind of semi-dry, not dry, but then you wipe. And just make sure that you don't get stuff out from the gaps. It needs to stay there. So it's very gentle. Like first of all, just do wipe like this. Then you leave it, let that go off. When it hardens, you come back and then you wipe again to smooth it all up nicely. And these are very important details that you can do your tiling really nicely, but then if you mess up the grout, then the whole job looks really bad. So you need to pay attention to the detail here. And afterwards, obviously the siliconing, which I'll show you as well. It's also very important part, because the nice silicone just seals the job really nicely and everything looks amazing. That's it. I hope you enjoyed watching the video. If you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button for me, please. Like the video, share if you can. It really helps the channel to grow and gives me more motivation to create more content like this for you guys. Thank you very much.